Hello everyone, this is Yemi Yarunsi. Some people call me Yummy 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 Yummy. Well, welcome to All Alike Onto Him podcast, where we explore the human connection, faith, hope, and the human spirit of togetherness. Welcome everyone, my name is Yemi Yarunsi. Welcome to the All Alike Onto Him podcast. And today we have a special guest here, Mikayla. Mikayla, how you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Good. So Kayla is just, it's okay, right? Kayla, you go by Kayla, right? So,
yeah,
okay.
for sure.
Good. So for those who don't know, Kayla, tell us all about yourself. Like, who is Kayla? Yeah.
Well, I guess I could start with where I'm from. I'm from Kaysville, Utah, and born and raised here. I play professional soccer now, and I've obviously played soccer my whole life up to this point. I started playing at age 3 or 4, just played locally, played on the club teams here, and then went on to play in high school at Davis High here, and then went and played at BYU collegiately. And then after that, I continued my career, played professionally in the NWSL. I started in Orlando and played my first couple seasons there, and then had the opportunity to come back home and play for Utah, the Royals here, and that's where I'm at now.
Yeah, that's that's amazing. Not a lot of people get the opportunity to come back home where they were raised to play for a professional, for the professional team. So that's kudos to being able to come back home. Right?
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky that worked out, because obviously there wasn't always a team here. So it's fun that there's a team here now, and I had the chance to come back here and play. So professional player with the Utah Royals. So I also just heard that it's under new ownership, right? So Gail Miller, who is I've met her a few times, and such an amazing philanthropist, and she's an amazing steward of like the community, really community driven lady, and really amazed about everything that she has her hands into, and she's just all about making the community better. So I know that the Utah Royals are in great hands having Gail as the owner of the team. So have you had the chance to meet her or in your? Yeah. So just before they announced it publicly, we were, told and kind of made aware of the situation. So we had a big club, because we're partnered with RSL, and so it's like a joint thing. So we had a big club
like a banquet
celebration
or something
almost, where we met the Miller family and got introduced to them and what they're all about and what they're doing. So.
Yeah, she is amazing. Great steward of the community, absolute inspiring figure in Utah and really in the nation overall. So just kind of going back to you. So you've been in the league for a while now. So how has it been since you first started as a rookie, and then now as a veteran? How's that growth been for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of growing pains and a lot to learn throughout the process, but I feel like it's been really good for me. There's been times in my career where, things have come easy, and it's been really, success has been a little bit easier, and things have just kind of aligned more in my favor, right? And then there's times where you have to have more challenges, and there's other difficulties that you might be navigating. And so I feel like I've had a lot of experience throughout my whole playing career, not only just professionally, but, my whole life, just and overall, be able to feel like I've been in a lot of different shoes, and been in different roles and stuff. So it's been really good. I feel like throughout my entire career, I've been always learning and taking in new information, and I feel like you can apply soccer and sport to life in general, and it's honestly overall just helped me learn and grow and be better in life. But as a professional athlete, obviously every single day you're just trying to be your best and improve your skill and your craft. And I feel like from day one when I was in Orlando, like I was in this new environment where I was just trying to take in information all the time. And I think that's just kind of become a habit for me, is like, just, you can always learn from anyone, from any environment, any circumstance, whatever. You can always learn and grow and do things to make yourself be better. And that's kind of the approach that I've tried to take. And I think that as you're able to do that, you're going to just find a lot more success throughout it.
No, amazing. Yeah. So really, as a professional, I mean, I so full disclosure for folks that don't know, I played soccer in college and high school, college. I coached soccer I coached college soccer and also had some time to coach with the Boston Breakers out in it was called the WPS at the time before I transitioned to the NWSL. And to be in your position, I mean I crashed out like big time. Like I and I wasn't like a starter or anything like that, but playing to get to the professional level is a lot of people's dreams, right? But it takes hard work, it takes perseverance, it just takes the mentality too. It's not just a lot of people look at sports and it is a microcosm of life in general, as a whole. And a lot of things that we can learn from sports, growth, adversity. There's so much adversity in sports that people just don't even see on a day to day. They look on the TV and they see the glory, they see the goals, they see all that, but they don't know. A lot of people don't see the struggle behind the scenes, right? And so, what are some? What are some of the challenges that you've been through in soccer, like just in your career so far?
I mean, I feel like I can. There's several different things that I could bring up or talk about, but like you said, like you don't see on a day-to-day basis the struggle behind things, the grind. Yeah. So like if I think about college, like I had a very successful career and my team was really good, like we played in the national championship. We were always a top team in the country and competing against, competing for that number one spot all the time, honestly. And I think that that's kind of a time where people see success and they think it's just all easy all the time. And while like, not to say that college wasn't enjoyable or anything, because I mean, I loved it and I had a great career and team and coaches and stuff, but like there's a lot that went in behind the scenes that you don't see that's still challenging. Like I think that in college, like one of the things that was more challenging for me was I was like a captain of the team, so trying to navigate how the best way to lead a group of 25 to 30 girls on a daily basis and get everyone to buy in. And there's like those kind of challenges and things that are more like off the field, And then if I look at my professional career, probably the biggest challenge that I've had to face is like going in and out of different roles as far as how the impact that you make on game day, and once again, to the fan or the outside viewer, like they see what happens on game day. They see the players that are doing certain things at a certain time, but they have no idea what's going on behind the scenes and why certain decisions are being made or why certain players are in certain situations and what players are doing what at training every day. And so I would say professionally, the challenges that I faced have been different than the ones I faced in college, but it's been more of like the on the field receiving opportunity and like trying to be put in an environment to succeed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely it does. And and that, I think that goes for life as well. Like people see success and they just they can't visualize what it takes to actually get there. Speaking of like your time at in college, so BYU, I know that even in just the 2024 NWSL draft, there are a bunch of players that were drafted out of BYU, such a powerhouse in college soccer. And I was looking at some of your games. Like sometimes I just go and I watch random games and I just watch it for fun. And there was this one I was seeing like you were just like you had a hat trick in one game. I can't quite remember. Maybe you've had a bunch of them, but this was like maybe like 3 or 4 goals in one game or something. I just saw that one. I was like, oh my goodness, like.
That was however you got a hold of that one. That's the way. Keep watching that one.
But yeah, so they in just the 2024 draft, I know there were a bunch of players that got drafted out of from BYU and that went over to the Royals, and I think you had a chance to play with them. And I know most of them are gone, are no longer there. But Brecken Mozingo, I know she had a goal. Was it the last game or
just last weekend? Yeah, she got her first goal, which was awesome.
Yeah, and I watched the team, and I sent a message to my brother-in-law. I'm like, why does she wear like an oversized shirt? And he's like, that's her thing. Is that really her thing or?
Yeah, I think that's just like her style. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so which is
everyone
cool.
has their different look.
I think that's cool. But there's quite some BYU players on the team and also like in the league as well. Is there what's going on at BYU? How is it that so many players are able to get to the league? Anything?
I mean, when you're a top like program in the country at the college level, like that's kind of, I mean, it's like any sport. Like the best players in the country want to go play for those schools, and it just kind of breeds like professionals, honestly. It's if you're playing at a top program in the country, you're gonna get better faster, you're pushed, you're playing against, you're exposed to more of, professional scouts or whatever. And it's just kind of it's like it's a stepping stone in the path to get to the next level. Professional level. And I think BYU does a great job of that.
Absolutely. So and speaking of coming from BYU and going to the professional scene. So obviously in BYU, generally speaking, you have players who are of the general same mindset and probably share the same values, right? I mean, it's a religious institution, and you have the honor code. Everyone abides by those. And then you go into a professional team where it's much more diverse. You have people from different cultures, different way of life, whatever it may be. How has that transition been for you? Like coming into a team where now I'm sure obviously you've been on teams with different people of different backgrounds and faiths, but coming to the professional league where it's a different crowd, right? It's diverse. And I remember when I was in college, a lot of times like after a game or something, everyone want to go out drinking or go out to parties and all that stuff. And and I'm not saying I'm not saying people are bad because they drink or anything like that. Like that's not what I'm getting at. But I'm just saying, how do you, for someone that's being religious, being someone of faith, how do you navigate those waters and those differences in those environments?
Sure, yeah. For sure that like after going from BYU to Orlando, it was a huge shock. Not in like a way of I was like I kind of went into it with that expectation, but that doesn't diminish the fact that it was completely different than anything I had experienced up to that time in my life, not only on my soccer team with my teammates, but also, I mean, I was living in Orlando, Florida for the first time in my life. Was I not in Utah or within an hour of my parents' house, and then, part of a team who had people coming from a million different backgrounds.
All walks of life.
And so it definitely exposed me to new things that I hadn't like fully been exposed to, or not necessarily that, but more like that was the majority rather than the minority, if that makes sense, like it was just, that was the norm. And all those things that come with that, of me being the only member of the church or even one of few Christians, so.
How do you stay grounded with that, right? Like how do you like remember yourself, right? And like I said, it's not about me versus them or anything, but everyone has their unique identity, right? And how do you stay grounded in that when you're now the minority, right, in a new environment?
I mean, I think honestly for me, this might be a unpopular opinion, but I think for me, it almost made it easier when I was the minority, because like it showed me why I was so grateful for it. Like growing up in Utah, being in Utah and surrounded by people that are very similar to me and raised in a similar way, it almost like was easy to take for granted. And then once I moved to Orlando and was like the only one, I was like, wow, I'm so thankful that I was raised the way I was. I'm so thankful that I have the gospel in my life and the testimony that I have, and just have that background and that foundation, because for me personally, it's shaped so much of who I am and has just, I feel like I'm able to attribute a lot of my success, my life circumstances to that. And so it made it even easier for me to want to like stay grounded in that.
No, that's true. I think so. Growing up when I was in DC and a member of the church in DC, and then I moved to Utah, which is kind of like the opposite, right? I've always been the minority member in well, no pun intended. I've always been the minority member in DC, and then coming to Utah, and I really noticed the difference, right? Of the culture, right, of members outside of Utah and then in Utah as well. And it's really distinct, to be honest with you. And I'm not saying it's easier or better, but I can appreciate what you're saying. So that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I wanted to also bring up was kind of diving into the parallel of like professional soccer and life as well. I was reading, it was about probably a year ago or a year and a half or so, with the new NWSL signed a new CBA with the players, so a collective bargaining agreement, where the free agency has changed a lot. And part of, the typical free agency and draft is where, players are sort of don't have the power or the ability to choose their destiny or choose where they want to go. Obviously, the teams usually have, generally speaking, more power and authority to sign players, right? That's where the players go to. But with the idea of the new collective bargaining agreement and players just having more control with their careers, and abolishing the draft as well, right? From what I heard, like that's gone away. But and I was reading some of the new changes with the NWSL, and I thought it was really great. But then it really drawed on sort of that idea of free agency for me in life. And I was, the subsequent months, I read a specific chapter in the New Testament, and it was Mark 10:46 to 52, and specifically verse 51. There's this interaction with Jesus and a blind man who Bartimaeus, and the verse 51 goes like this. Or actually, let me set the stage for this. Blind Bartimaeus was out and about, and Jesus was kind of in the area walking through, and he wanted to meet Jesus Christ, and so he was trying to go through the crowd, blind and all, and calling Jesus's name, like, hey, I want to see you. I want to touch him. I want to ask Jesus Christ a question. And people were sort of pushing him back and telling him, like, okay, you can't move, you can't go. And Jesus got wind of it and said, no, bring him to me. Like, I want to meet him. And in verse 51, they got together, and Jesus asked him a question and said, okay, and I'm paraphrasing this part, where I'm here now. What do you want? And specifically in verse 51, it says, and Jesus answered and said unto him, what wilt thou that I should do unto thee? And the blind man, Bartimaeus, replied and said unto him, Lord, that I might receive my sight. And I keep thinking back about agency and the fact that, there's this interaction with Jesus Christ and a blind man. And by all accounts, right, if you were to meet a blind person on the street and you'd ask them, like, what do you want, right? I think everyone might think that he's going to say, the individual will say sight, right? I want to see. But Jesus got there and actually asked him, what do you want? And without just making that assumption and leaving it to the individual to call out what he wanted, right? Was it $1 million? Was it 1 million, pesos, whatever it may be? And it really drives at the fact of the agency that we have, and also driving on the asking for what we want, right? And I think those two parallels, as we look at, when I was just thinking of free agency and also thinking of our own agency in life and the importance of, prayer and asking for things that we want. And do you have any thoughts about that? I don't know. It was just something I thought about when I was thinking about the free agency and NWSL, and it just came by that.
Yeah, no, I love that connection that you made. That's obviously a great story. And like you said, like, Jesus, even though he would know, of all people, would know what he's going to say, he wanted to ask and give him the opportunity to, like, present to him what he wanted. And going to the CBA with free agency and linking that to our agency is, I love that connection because, like, as a professional soccer player, having free agency and being able to choose is so, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it just allows you to feel free, it gives you a little bit of freedom and be able to make the choices that you want to make, which as a human being and as an individual, you have that freedom, like God has gifted us that freedom. And that's one of the biggest things that is emphasize in the church is that, you know, free agency will never be taken from us, no matter what we're promised or what we're taught or what we're commanded to do. Like, we always have our agency. And I think that that's a huge blessing, but it's something that you have to be very like conscious of and aware of, because with free agency comes responsibility, I think, and it's up to us to, you know, not only make good decisions for ourselves and to obey the commandments and do everything to be in good standing with God, but also as we do that, or whatever choices we make, as we do that or as we don't do that, we're showing an example, and people can see how, you know, we live our lives. And I feel as a member of the church, I've always kind of felt a responsibility to, you know, be a certain way and show a certain example and be a light, you know, as much as I can to others. And I just feel that, you know, we're given that opportunity.
Yeah. No, that's great. So just another question I have for you is, I hear athletes a lot of times, you know, the NFL players, NBA players, WNBA players, saying like, I'm not a role model. Don't do this, or don't look at me a certain way. Do you consider yourself a role model? Like, what's the answer?
I mean, I would never like call myself a role model. I feel like that's like tooting my own horn a little bit. Like I just like to be, you know, whether it's a role model or whether it's just a friend or whatever it might be, whoever I come in contact with, I want to, you know, have a good experience with. I want people to be able to, like, as much as I want to learn from other people and be able to see and follow other people's examples, like, I hope that I can do the same for others. And in whatever way that might be, whether that's church related, whether that's in my career as a professional soccer player, whether that's just in life in general, whatever it might be, I just hope to leave a positive impact on people and, you know, want to hopefully be able to teach or show some good example.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I have this, I was listening to a podcast with you and Mayor Tammy Tran, so Mayor of Kaysville, and I listened to it, and there was a story, and I heard about this story way back in COVID period times, you know, way back when I was kind of, you know, I was in Utah at the time, and you know, there was this wave that was going on in the country about kneeling, athletes kneeling on the field for I think the whole like Black Lives Matter movement, and just a lot of things that were going on in our country at the time, and a lot of people equating kneeling with sort of like social justice, right? And Governor Spencer Cox actually talks about and I don't think it's unique to him, but he talks about the quest of false options, or false options, right? Meaning, if I don't do X, if I don't do X, it means I am this, or it means I am not this, and or whatever, and just cautioning against making those direct assumptions based on options that are before us, right? So because I'm not out there in a protest doesn't mean I don't support a certain goal or mission or whatever it means, like that. So, you know, the false option is what he really talks about. But I would love to play with you. There's this part that I listened to it multiple times actually, and I just like, I'm always like floored by your response. Do you mind if we play it? And
for sure, for sure.
Okay, let's make sure it's loud enough here.
I'm bursting with pride. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, well, you're too nice.
No, seriously, the courage. I mean, you could have been cut from the team. You're a professional soccer player. You make it, and then you still made the decision. What gave you the courage to do that? Because you were obviously motivated by something more than just, you know, what will people think?
Yeah. You know, I don't know if it was, I feel like it was kind of almost a spiritual experience too. It's kind of like, even though the national anthem and my faith don't really like cross paths necessarily, they have the same meaning in a way to me. You know, it's like when I make decisions growing up to live the lifestyle I would live or wanted to live, it was never that hard for me because I felt like I knew what was expected of me, and I knew what in my heart felt right. So it wasn't hard to make the right decisions. Like,
Okay, just for context, right? During that period, I think there was it was drive for like a lot of athletes to kneel down for the national anthem. And, your decision, your personal decision was you did not want to do that, and you wanted to stand for the national anthem because of what it meant to you and what it means. And then I talk back about that false narrative or the false option, right? Where if I don't kneel down for during the national anthem, then it means I don't support XYZ or whomever. But I think that we can make that distinction that standing for your national anthem can never is not a cannot be a wrong thing, right? You can choose to stand and also support other things as well, right? In parallel, right? Whatever that may be. But that's again the false narrative. But I really love what you said here about how it was something that you truly believed in your heart, and if you deviated from that, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like you know what's right and you know what it's within you, and you don't want to deviate from that.
Yeah.
How did you get through that past? Because I know that must have not been an easy time for you.
Yeah, it obviously was challenging, as you can imagine, and there was a lot of things once again behind the scenes that you don't even see that went into it and played a big part. But it did really, as hard as it was easy at the same time, because I knew I feel like I'm fairly good at being true to myself, and I don't like to do things that don't align with something I truly believe in. And so I was able to do what I thought was right and thought aligned with my beliefs and values most. And so it made it gave me the confidence that I needed to feel comfortable in that moment and that challenge that I was faced with. Not to say that it was fun or easy, but yeah.
Oh man, you are an absolutely brave person. You are really brave, and I know you might not even look at it at that way, but we go back to that role model thing. I think that you truly are a role model, and even if you may not know that, but I know a lot of people look up to you. I don't know what I would have done if I were in those same shoes, and I think that speaks a lot to your faith and speaks a lot to your determination, and also realizing that it doesn't mean you don't support your teammates or friends or whatever it is or whatever the struggle they may be having, but again that the two may not necessarily so yeah. Just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on that. But that's thank you for sharing that, and also thank you for really displaying that. So
sure.
did you obviously you went straight into soccer professionally. You didn't have the opportunity to go to mission. Are you interested in going for a mission at all? Like, what's your
I would never say like no, like I'm completely closed off to it, but as far as up to this point in my life, it was never something that I like sought, my life was always kind of like, seems like it was just one thing to the next. So I never, had the opportunity to do that, but my brothers, my dad, my husband all did. And so I feel like I've almost vicariously lived through them.
Well, this is
but
your
maybe
mission.
as a senior couple or something.
And this is your mission, right? Like right now, like you don't have to have a name tag and going door to door. Like I think what you do on a national stage and being who you are, I think that really is a mission. And people, how I got converted to the church was by looking at people's examples, right? And I think as you like keep displaying those same examples and staying true to your faith, I think that's exemplary, and a lot of people will notice that from you. As we're getting to an end here, I know that just looking at the future, where do you see yourself once you're done with soccer? Like, what do you have?
That's the golden question. I really want to be a mom. That's like my something that I'm the most excited for in my future. When I think of post-playing career, I think about like having kids and raising a family. But
Carly Lloyd did it. Yeah.
what's that?
Carly
Yeah,
Lloyd.
yeah.
I just saw a documentary.
Yeah,
about
some
her,
people somehow pull it off
Yeah.
while they're playing too. That's incredible.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when
Yeah.
it gets there. But I studied exercise and wellness at BYU, so I've always been very into all things health related,
Yeah.
fitness, nutrition, kind of all of that category of things. And I don't know exactly if I could tell you like this is the job that I want to do, but I am excited to work in that field of some sort and hopefully still be, competitive with myself and push I love like any physical challenge.
Yeah.
That's like my thing. So I want to be in a world where I can push myself and push others and still try to help people, be their best selves.
Oh no, amazing. I usually, so Tom Brady obviously has his line of like fitness stuff that he does. So maybe something like that, right?
Yeah, that would be awesome if I could compete with Tom Brady or be anywhere in that conversation. That would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, so I subscribe to a bunch of his stuff, but if you do start something, like I said, I'll drop him harder than Michelle.
You'll be my first subscriber, right?
Yeah. Exactly. But is there as we just round this up, like, is there any favorite like Book of Mormon passage or scriptures or just anything in general and what it means to you? Any particular scripture that
Oh, I feel like I have a hard time saying, this is my favorite scripture. But I always, whatever sticks out in my mind whenever I'm asked this question, it's like where I'm currently reading, or what I've been studying as of lately. Currently, I'm reading in Mosiah when King Benjamin is giving his address, and kind of talking to the people and being like, we got to be better, we got to hold ourselves to a higher standard. This is what the Lord expects of us. You all need to repent. We need to set a higher standard.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the message that I received. And I think that while it's fair to say at certain times of life, it's good to kind of applaud yourself or be like, I'm doing a good job, or to applaud others and say like, we're doing good here. It's not like we need to be negative or neglect, positive things that are happening. But I think it's also fair to say that we can always be a little bit better.
Yeah.
There's always room for improvement. There's always areas that we can focus on in our lives where we can try to be better, try to fill the gap of area of improvement. And that's kind of what's pertaining to me right now. And what's been my focus lately is just, how can I be better in every facet of life? How can I improve? How can I make a difference in other people's lives? And how can I, try to be better in my own space as well. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of.
No, that's great. That's a really great concept, and just being better and being better for other, making an impact in other people's lives as well. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I, as we just round up, I'm just thankful for you and thankful for everything that you do and just being a great example. And I know you don't want to toot your own horn, as you said, but I want to like give you your flowers and just say like, you may not see it now, but you are making an impact in the lives of other people. And even in the short time that we've gotten to know each other, I just want to say thank you that I see the light in you. I see the kind of person that you are. And I am floored time and time and just, in your level of humility. I've worked with a lot of like, people and athletes and etc. And I just want to say thank you for being who you are. And I'm just grateful to know you as well. And just keep doing what you're doing. And I know that you are a shining example. So thank you for being here and wishing you good luck on your career as you move forward and looking forward to seeing what's next in your life.
Well, thank you. I mean, I hope you know that means a lot, and I really appreciate you saying that. You don't have to say that, and there's a lot of times while you're saying that you mean those things and stuff, like even though people might think or expect me to be a certain way or be told certain things all the time, like it's really appreciated to hear you say that, and means a lot to me, and I appreciate you having me on and being able to be a part of it. And I hope that I wish you all the success as well.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kayla. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you all for listening in. Talk to you soon. To all my podcast listeners, I'm so glad you are here. If you like what you heard, please subscribe, like, and share.